Our Lens, where we shine the spotlight on creatives using their unique life experiences to shape some of the most striking and original narratives in the entertainment industry. I am your host, Angelique Jackson, and today I have the pleasure of having Emmy Award-nominated writer, comedian, and actor, Robin Thede, on the show. Hello. Yes, forget Black Lady Courtroom. We got a Black Lady interview.
Oh yeah, Black Lady interview. There we go. Okay.
She's also like her own hype man, my own hype man.
Yes, I'm so proud of you. This is amazing. Come on, let's get through our lens. Let's do it.
Well, I'm so proud of you because you are bringing us season 3 of a Black Lady sketch show.
Yes.
Can you describe the season in just a few words?
I'll give you one word, epic. It is huge. Like, you'll see from the moment the first sketch starts, it is an event. Get ready for the main event!
Oh, you thought a pandemic was gonna stop me? Start off that Spike Lee dolly shot, because I've been silent for too long.
We've shot 2 seasons now during a global pandemic, and season 2 was like really restrictive, right? Everybody was in face masks and shields, and we couldn't have kids and dogs and crowds, and yet we made a 5-time Emmy nominated and 1 Emmy winning, there's my camera, season. So season 3 is just bigger and better than ever. We have over 40 celebrity guest stars. We have humongous set pieces, stunts, choreography, original music. I mean, it's just jam-packed, as people drag me in my mentions for only doing 6 episodes a year. But it is the densest. You're gonna get the most sketches you've ever gotten. You're gonna get the most time. We're gonna stretch that half hour within an inch of its life. So yeah, I would say it's super epic. I'm really excited.
All right, I was wondering if you were gonna give us the Under the White House tease.
Oh yes!
I mean, that's pretty epic in and of itself.
Okay, thank you. Listen, I'm spilling all the tea this season. In season 2, you did see that the women were under the White House in DC on a map. And I think a lot of people didn't notice it, right? So I've started telling people, look for the stuff that's happening in the interstitials because it's really going to start to inform the information that will come to light in season 3.
Well, because this show is layered.
Yes.
And one of the most important layers of this show is that it is Black women top to bottom.
Yeah.
How is being first in a writer's room full of Black women, how has that allowed you to tell a story that you couldn't tell anywhere or any other way?
Yeah, it's so great. I mean, we value authenticity above anything else, right? And we know that calling something a Black Lady sketch show, it's gotta feel authentic to Black ladies, right? If you watch the show and you're like, I don't know what they're talking about, then, it's not gonna make any sense, right? So for us, and for me, when I was creating the show, it was important. I mean, I put the room together by myself. I just texted, dozens of Black women writers that I knew who were already amazing. Some of them had Emmys already. Now it's just kind of this mecca where a lot of Black lady writers, want to be, rightfully so, and I want to hire as many as I can. And this season we had a crop of almost all new writers.
Yeah.
Which was great. It is through our lens, right? That's why I love the title of this series, because not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera too, there's so much that is through our point of view. And I think viewers can see that, right? That's why things like Black Lady Courtroom. Black Lady Courtroom. That's why those sorts of things have resonated with people, because it is like, yeah, what would we do if we came into an environment, it was all Black women, where we've never seen that happen before? And it's such a simple concept that Ashley Nicole Black, who wrote that original sketch, came up with, but it was so relatable. So we really try to create grounded experiences for Black women, but in this magical reality where anything can happen, right? Where Dr. Hadassah can create a Red Table Talk type of show with Gabrielle Union, or we can be aliens, or we can be otherworldly beings, or murderers, or priests. It doesn't matter. We can play all of these things without it being filtered through someone else's lens. Yeah. Because our directors are Black women, our writers are Black women, our cast is Black women, our hair, makeup, wardrobe, all of them are Black women, and a couple of Black men. Our production design team is all Asian women, Latinx women. Our entire production team is women, and mostly women of color. Everyone loves working on the show because we create an environment that says, you're welcome here to be exactly who you are. And that's why it's so important to tell those stories starting in the writer's room from our authentic point of view.
Let's go back to the beginning, your road to the screen. How did you discover your love of comedy?
I think I started making people laugh pretty early, and I was shy as a kid. I had a stutter. I didn't talk till I was 4 years old. Not one word. Wow. And I know I'm making up for it now. But yeah, I think for me, it was about figuring out really quickly that making people laugh made me happy. And you know, I grew up in a trailer park in Iowa. We didn't have anything, right? So for me, even if my parents were down or they were struggling financially or we didn't have enough to eat or whatever, I knew I could make them laugh. And that was my gift, right? So I embraced that at an early age, and then I started writing and shooting sketches on an old broke video camera we got from the Goodwill. And I really liked doing that. And by the time I got to college at Northwestern in Chicago, I ran a sketch comedy group, and then Second City scouted me, and then they gave me a scholarship. I did that, and then I was out to LA off and running. And I've been in this 20 years.
What do you remember about that first sketch comedy troupe?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was mostly me and my sisters, and we would just make like Ricky Lake parodies.
I love that.
And like we would just do parodies. Like, so we would see something on TV and we're like, oh, we gotta write a sketch, our version of that. But even then it was like our authentic point of view.
That's the thing. We already know that we contain multitudes.
Yeah.
And there's no reason that the show shouldn't as well. It's gotta be beautiful, it's gotta be funny, it's gotta be smart, it's gotta be incisive.
To survive in this very white male-dominated industry, it has to be. It has to be all of those things. And that's okay. I don't resent that, but I do take that responsibility seriously. And I knew making something called A Black Lady Sketch Show, it had to be gorgeous. It had to be the most gorgeous. It had to be the funniest. That part that I really love is that it's really not about me. Like this show, I created this show actually when I was doing my late night show, The Rundown, and I wasn't gonna star in it. And it just so happened that my late night show got canceled and that I was available. So that worked out. But yeah, I originally wasn't gonna star in it because I was on another show. I just wanted to make this, and I knew so many funny black women, I just wanted to see them on TV.
People thought that our drive-by mammogram mobile was a food truck.
So what you're saying is our breast exams was a bust.
Part of the road to getting a successful show is paved full of no's. There's always doors closing, doors opening, and I'm curious, what is a no that you turned into a yes that you're particularly proud of?
Well, this show in particular, I had sold it to another network who I have a great relationship with, just didn't want to give us the money we needed to make it. And I had been a showrunner before for my late night show and done all of that, and thank God, right? Like I had done multiple sketch shows before. I understood what it took to make sketch, and I knew the budget I needed down to every line item. So then I tell this story about how we sold it to HBO, which is I said, look, I've got this at another network, but I haven't signed the dotted line because the money's not there. And then I told them what I needed, and they told me, great, we'll give you that, go make 6 episodes. And I wasn't greedy. It wasn't like I came in and said I need $100 million to make this sketch show. Like, it wasn't that. But it was the minimum I needed to make it look as great as it does. And I knew that it was going to live on HBO, a channel that is known for its premium content. And I knew that it was going to be executive produced by Issa Rae, who is known for premium content, and by me, and my standards are high, So I think that was, the no for me was like, no, the money is not gonna be what you need it to be. You need to make it for half of the amount. That no, I just turned into, okay, not there. And then at that point, the other network stepped up and said, wait, we'll give you the money. And I said, sorry, I'm already gone. Me and Issa are gonna go make it, but they're great. And they did understand the value of it enough to fight for it. And I think that's what you have to do in this business is when someone tells you a no, if you can turn that into a not there, not at that place, then it's no longer a failure. It's no longer a rejection. My career opened up when I made it less about me and more about building projects and products that would catapult other people. And through that, it catapulted me too.
How did you feel like you learned that? Because I feel like that is often something that you hear. Once you figure out your purpose, that is what catapults you where you need to be.
Yeah, I think for me, I had written for so many stand-ups for years. I wrote for Mike Epps and Kevin Hart and Anthony Anderson, obviously Larry Wilmore. I was his head writer on his late night show and at the White House Correspondent Dinner, and Jon Stewart was a great help, Chris Rock, Queen Latifah. Like, so many people have poured into me over the years who I've worked with and worked for, and I just soaked up everything that they told me, and I also watched. Everybody wants to be the big boss, and I'm like, no, be responsible for things.
Yeah.
So you're learning, but also work your way up so you can watch other people's mistakes and learn from those.
Let's talk about the content of this series for a second. I mean, the very first sketch is about ashy skin.
Damn, I'm ashy.
You dive into Black Lady hair quite a bit. Also the church, the Bible. Why did all of those themes just make for good comedy?
I think the biggest disservice we could have done is to try to compete with like white male dominated sketch shows, right? If we were trying to make what they make, it just wouldn't have made sense. A, because they're already making those things. And B, that's not who we are. And that's what I appreciate so much about HBO, about Issa, about our writers, about our performers. Everybody was like, if this doesn't ring true, we're not gonna do it.
What has, in particular, this world of sketch allowed you to do other mediums wouldn't?
I mean, I've played 100 characters in 3 seasons. Who else is doing it? You know what I mean, Emmys? But and for all my other ladies, by the way, they have all played that many characters. But like you said, we contain multitudes, right? And I think for us, in that defining our authentic selves and telling our authentic stories, that means that we get to play a wide variety of characters who can be everything. It shows the range of how dynamic these actresses are and these comedians, but also it allows us to stretch beyond what we've been defined as. There's no stereotypes that we have to adhere to. So I think the freedom to do that, knowing that those characters are written by Black women with love. You're never gonna see like a slave sketch on the show. Like, it's just not funny to me. I don't think that trauma that we all share, it just wasn't that long ago. And I just don't feel like it should ever be made fun of in any era. But that's okay, other people do it, and I'm not saying I haven't laughed at things like that. I'm not knocking what literally anyone else is doing. But on this show, it's important that we tell modern stories, even if we're going back in time to tell some of them. It's important that it still feels relevant and current, so that it is that love letter.
I know that you love to improv.
Yes.
So as a performer, having other Black women around you on stage, how does that influence the way you're able to riff and what you're able to riff about in these sketches?
Listen, the funniest Black women I know are my mothers, my aunts, my grandmother. You know what I mean? Like, these are women who will tear you down and lift you up at the same time with a look. Okay, they'll be like, oh, you think you cute? And you know that means so much. Like, if you walk in this, because you look great. But like, you should, oh, you think you cute. I think that kind of energy is what we all bring. Like, we all have Black mothers, so we all have that same shared experience, right? The core 4 that we have now, Ashley, me, Gabrielle, and Sky, have been together now for over 2 years. When we do improvise on set, we just go for it. And you're gonna feel that in this season even more. We're so comfortable with each other. We finish each other's thoughts, and we'll leave those moments in. You'll see it happen a bunch, where we finish each other's thoughts or say the same thing at the same time. Those are the moments of joy for me.
What's one of your favorite riffs that's made it onto the show?
The Last Supper.
We're 2 feet away.
I know, but you're so much lower.
Last I checked, you were over there just pouring wine at the table. You weren't sitting at it.
At least I'm there.
Most of that sketch is improvised. We could have aired a 17-minute version of that sketch, and I don't know if people would have enjoyed it, but we would have.
I'm still asking for one.
I know.
Full and uncut.
I know. Well, yeah, who knows? You may see the ladies again soon.
Don't act like you never slept with some men to pay your game for it. Why would you pay for something that God just gave you? Kick the bear out and move in.
Once you have your game, then you can do anything within that. And this season, I'm telling you, there's a sketch called What Up, I'm 3. The moment we started, the script went out the window. And I love when people try to guess. Yes. People go, oh, did y'all make that up or was that written? And they never really guess right.
Really?
And I think that's a credit to the performers on the show. I don't think you can really tell when people are going up, because they're not breaking or anything. And it feels written, but they're also really talented writers, all of them.
What up? I'm 3. What up is your cholesterol? You're 3 years from collecting Social Security. What up? I'm 3. What up is your credit score?
What up? I'm 3. Bitch, if you don't stop.
How important have you found that creative control, in particular for this show, but as we're seeing it across the industry, because we are seeing so many people of color not only bringing their shows to the forefront, but bringing them exactly their own way.
100%. Obviously what Issa has done, what Quinta is doing now on her own show, is just so good. And you cannot note that, right? Like the idea has to come authentically from the talent and then has to be nurtured. And I believe that our executives feel that way. They're always like, we are here to make the project you want to make. So our suggestions are only to get you more closer to your vision or whatever. And I think about like Misha Green in Lovecraft Country. I know it's not coming back, unfortunately, but that Hippolyta episode, it changed my life. If there was a log line for the episode, it was that the character realizes she can define who she is for herself, right? Mm-hmm. That seems very simple. But to me, as a Black woman, I was never told that. I mean, my mother said you can be who you want to be, right? You can be anything you want to be. But telling a young Black girl, or an older Black girl, because we all need to hear it, not that you're older, me.
We're both older.
But, but it's telling her No, you define who you are. You aren't defined by what people tell you you can do, or you have access to, or you don't have the privilege to do. You get to say, this is my name, this is who I am, this is what I do. Also, like, it took all the limits off. And I just never, I don't know, I just bawled. I remember watching that episode because I thought, I was told I can be anything I want to be. And I worked really hard to have what I have. But A, I'm not my career. I am a whole person. And defining who I am as Robin is like really cool. And I think that's a privilege that we're not really afforded. I don't think we think about it that way because so much of our lives is spent with people telling us who we are and what we can be and what we can do. And they tell us by shutting the doors. They tell us by lack of access. They tell us by lack of resources. They tell us by not sharing salary information. They tell us by not making clothes that fit our bodies. They tell us by not having hair products in the drugstore that work for us. They tell us by not having hospitals and fresh food in our communities. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but that's how they tell us who we are. And so to think about this way that we can define who we are without the eye of the oppressor. Not to sound all Dr. Hadassah about it, but the oppressor, right? In the allegorical way, not in the like the white man way, in the oppressor. The oppressor is the system.
Exactly.
Right? The system that tells you we don't have Band-Aids your color. It's a small thing. Literally, I grew up, like I said, in a trailer park in Iowa. To get hair products, I had to go to my friend's mom's house who was like making them. Like, you know, this was in the late 80s, early 90s. Now they have everything, but even Sally Beauty.
And
in
it
my
was in a
local
locked
area.
box. It
was in a locked box and it was dusty, it was expired. So this idea that we can define our own destinies and declare who we are is revolutionary to me, and it's something, scoop here, that we incorporate into the interstitial storyline in season 3, actually.
Well, on that topic of definitions, how would you define Robin Thede today?
Oh. Teachable. I think I was young and hard-headed when I got here, and I thought, I'm a comedian, I'm gonna be out here, and I'm gonna star in a show, and I'm going to be this, and me. There is a famous quote that says, you find yourself when you lose yourself in service of others. And that might seem silly because I do star in this show also, but my cast knows, they call me Mama Bear. Like, everybody knows, like, I'm here to look out for them and make sure that they have an experience that is incredible. When my editors won that Emmy, I felt happier than if I won it. I'm just so proud of them and I'm so happy for what they're doing. So I would define myself as teachable because throughout that journey, I have learned that it's not about me. It's about how I'm in service to others, right? And losing myself in service to others. And by losing myself, I found myself. And so I found myself here. That's why it was important for me to showrun as well. I try to be a showrunner that is empathetic and teachable. I cannot be the only one with all the answers. I trust people who I hire to be the best they can. I tell them that you were underestimated everywhere else you were, and that's not gonna happen here. And they live up to their potential and beyond. So I watch it happen every day. People who didn't think they could do something excel at a massively high rate. And it's because I'm not telling them who they are or what they can do. I'm saying just go be that. Just shine, be the thing. And if you need help, we're here.
I imagine it makes a lot of people, including myself, emotional watching the show. While we're laughing, you know, we're also feeling.
Yeah.
You know, feeling seen.
Yeah.
So
good. I hope so.
When
It's for you. It's literally in the title.
It literally is for me, and not many things are. So
Yeah.
what has stood out to you about people's reception and reaction to this series when it comes to seeing themselves?
The funny thing is, people are like, oh, when you go out in public, do people say anything? I'm like, I've been in a mask for 2 years. Like, unless I talk or like do one of my character voices, which, spoiler alert, I do not do in public. I will say once, I had 1 week between season 1 and season 2, and I went to France, and a woman ran up to me on the street, an American black woman. She was like, I just left my husband and my kids down the block. I have to tell you how much I love the show. And I was like, oh, that's so dope. Like, it's so cool. She was like, you don't understand. This is everything. I've never seen myself in this way. And she was talking so fast. I said, calm down. It's okay. I made it for you. That's what it's supposed to do. And she was like, you did, huh? And I was like, yeah. And I do think there's a reason that the show is so successful, and that's why. Because we are not doing it just to be famous or be on TV. We want to leave that legacy and leave the door open.
What would you say, even beyond this show, is a story that you still want to tell through your lens?
For me, I like breaking ground. And now I have a zom-com. I have a zombie comedy at Amazon that's in the works. that stars 4 Black women who dropped out of Spelman their senior year, which is very rare. Black women do not drop out of college, especially not Spelman.
No.
So these women get challenged by one of their old rivals to go back to homecoming, to Spellhouse Homecoming, which is Spelman and Morehouse, for those of y'all that don't know. So it's a very big deal. It's a blast. So they go back to avenge their tarnished reputations when Atlanta gets taken over by zombies. It's a genre that we don't really get into. Like, usually we don't really fuck with horror movies. Like, Jordan Peele made it okay for Black people to like go see stuff that was scary.
Barely.
Yeah.
I do it for the love of
I
Jordan.
know. This will be scary, but it's also going to be really funny, you know? So I think that's exciting, and it's something we haven't seen in this package before, so I'm really excited to do that. I have a development deal at Warner Brothers, so I'm creating all sorts of television. So at my production company, it's really important for us to create work that lets us tell authentic stories that allow us to define our stories, especially for people who have been defined by others. That's a commonality in everything that I do. And so we're doing that now, bringing on writers, and I'm writing more projects, things that I want to see, things that haven't been there. There's so many things we haven't done yet. So, you know, I'm excited to get into the zombie world. We've conquered the sketch world, and now we'll just keep setting them up and knocking them down.
Well, Robin, thank you so much for giving us insight into season 3 of A Black Lady Sketch Show, but really more into your process and the way that you have brought us this series, particularly through your lens. Stay tuned for more on Variety.com.